Electoral Act Amendment bill, I want to understand why the PDP seems to be, against it. Isn't this an opportunity for everyone's voice to be heard, especially when you have Democratic in the middle of the two Ps?
There are two issues involved in this. And the first is the fact that political parties should be independent, and they should have a method of choosing whoever is going to put on their flag. So no law should compel any political party about how they are going to choose their candidates. In whatever way and in whatever form, whichever political party chooses a wrong candidate, then they are bound to lose at the general election. So I don't think it's the business of the House of Rep or the lawmaker to choose for us how we are going to select whoever is going to be our representative in any election. That is number one. And number two, just like Governor Tambua rightly put it, if you say you are proposing direct primary, is open to fraud and is open to rigging. The example given was that during the direct primary of APC, the president was able to record 150 million votes or thereabout, or whatever. And at the end of the day, during the election, that was the exact vote he claimed to have made him the president. So where is the difference? Are we now saying that it's only the membership of the political party that elected him into office? So this we don't understand, and based on the fact that we just agreed that political parties should have that independent power to choose how or who is going to represent them, I think it's more than enough.
I want to take you back to something you just said. You did say that the members of the National Assembly do not have a right to tell political parties how to run their private business. But then let's look at the politics of it all. The members of the National Assembly are a makeup of the PDP and the APC. Maybe these people do not have a problem with it, but the governors do have a problem with it. So is it really about the fact that the parties want to be independent, or is it that maybe the governors have a different agenda as opposed to the members of the legislature?
Yeah, you may be right if you say that. The way and manner the legislators are looking at it could be quite different from the way the governors are looking at it. But at the end of the day, they have represented our voice. I mean the governors. They have said what we wanted. And there is now left for and I want to put it to you that right now, we try to make a kind of, to clarify what really happened. It was a proposal mentioned by the Speaker of Rep, Gbajabi Amila. It has not been put into anything. Maybe they are going to put it into voting or whatever. But as it is a personal opinion of Mr. Speaker. And we are not sure to what extent that is going to to have the support of other members.
Interesting. Why is indirect primaries very important to the PDP? Why? You obviously are a ranking member of the political party. Why is it very important to you, and how does this help the internal democracy in your party?
We believe it is too cumbersome and it gives room for rigging. Anybody can just come up with any figure and declare it and declare the candidate. Unlike the delegate election, whereby you know the number of delegates. You were in Nigeria when PDP conducted its presidential primary in Port Harcourt. It was the most transparent election internally done that was, applauded everywhere. So that's the kind of politics, or that's the kind of election we think we should follow in order to be able to choose our leaders, not direct one whereby anybody can just sit down anywhere and come up with any figure from any ward or from any local government.
But you make it seem as if you were to try these direct primaries that it would not be controlled. Are you trying to tell me that as a party you really cannot control the primaries that you would hold within your party, meaning that even when you go to the polls, you also cannot control? I mean, because what you're trying to tell me is that there is no form of internal democracy, and you're afraid that if you throw an election open to all and allow everybody's voice to be heard, then you're scared that, you know, someone might or will rig it. Where is the control in terms of the electioneering process within your party? Because if we do not expect some form of proper internal democracy in your party, we should not be able to trust you to hold any offices or run for any offices if you cannot get it right within your party.
You are missing the issues together. The two proposals are the method to choose whoever is going to flag whoever is going to be chosen.
I understand, but I'm following you up. No. I understand, but you said
right?
that it would be open to rigging.
But you cannot dictate to us which one is better.
Well, I'm asking you why you have chosen or you have kicked against the direct primaries if you haven't tried it. And then you quickly told me that, you know, you don't want just anybody to sit somewhere and decide who wins. I mean, it's supposed to be a democracy. Everybody's voice will come together, and whoever has the highest voice or the highest number of votes will be the flag bearer. Isn't it as simple as that?
To even select a delegate involves virtually all the members of the party. It's a process on its own. That is their level of involvement. That is stage one. The stage two is the delegates to elect whoever they now want as the candidate. So it's still a process that involves virtually all the members of the party. The two systems are good, but one has an advantage of having a better control than the other. And that is what I'm saying. It's not that anybody is afraid about direct.
Exactly. And I'm asking,
the two are good
why
process.
can't you control the other?
Can you now, are you trying to force us to accept a system is good for our party?
But it's like telling me that you can't drive, and I'm asking, why can't you drive? Are you afraid to drive, or you just don't want to drive? This is it. It's a simple question. Why do you as a person think that the other is too cumbersome? Why?
Because by the time you involve all the party members in such an election, there is no way you can control if the number of voters they claim to have gotten is correct or not.
Does it mean that you don't trust them? So it means that there is no trust within your party and its members. You're telling me that, for example, I'm in Ward 7 of a certain local government area of your party.
Hello.
And you're telling me that in that ward, you cannot trust the ward chairman of your party to say that these are the number of people who actually voted, and these are the people who voted for Mr. A and Mr. B. You're saying that you can't control it because they might, one way or the other, tamper with the numbers. So you do not trust the members of your own political party. That's it.
Got nothing to do with trust or nothing. But we believe this is the best system that is so transparent and for everybody to know. That is it.
Can I be given the opportunity to speak on this?
Yeah, we will get to you, Mr. Adaji, please. Just hold on. We'll get to you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Duran.
So we as a political party, if we decide to use indirect method, I think that is as a political party, we have the right to say, yes, this is the best system. I just mentioned where we have used it and we got applaud from Nigerians. And that is the last presidential election where Abubakar Atiku emerged as our candidate. We believe that's the best method. So, and we cannot be worried about it. Okay. What matters is to have a candidate that will be presentable to Nigerians.
Okay.
And that is why up till now, you cannot force the primary of PDP anywhere, because we have not lost governorship through 40 primaries.
Interesting. To you, Mr. Adaji, I want to understand why does the APC, that is, if the APC is open to this proposition by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is this something that the APC is open to, Mr. Adaji, direct primaries?
Well, in the APC party's constitution, the party is open to 3 methods of conducting its primaries. 1, direct primaries. 2, indirect. And 3, consensus. Where consensus is most acceptable, where you can sit down as a party and decide on a candidate acceptable by the people, it goes. Where that does not work, it beholds on the party to decide on either the direct or indirect primaries. In the case of Mr. President, we have tried the three methods. We have used direct primaries, we have used indirect primaries. You will recall that in 2015 rather, where we had our primaries in Lagos, we employed the indirect primaries that brought about the President Muhammadu Buhari, as the candidate of the party, where he contested among other 4 contestants. And now that election was very transparent. When my colleague did say that PDP had the most transparent primaries in Port Harcourt, I laugh because that primary election that was conducted in Port Harcourt cannot in any way be compared to what we had in 2015 in Lagos.
Well, were you at the PDP's primary? How do you know, or how can you tell? You're not a party man. How can you tell that their primaries was not anything compared to yours? You cannot speak for him, can you? If you were not there. My name is Marianne. My name is Marianne. You cannot speak for the PDP if you were not part of their primaries, can you?
Banker, as we speak now.
My name is Marianne.
What happened in PDP in the primaries in Port Harcourt is there for everybody to see. What happened in the primaries of the APC in Lagos is there for everybody to see. They are there in the archives. So these are not secret issues. Well, let me leave that for now. But what I'm trying to make you understand is that in 2015, we employed the indirect primaries. We tested it and it worked for us. In 2019, the president said we need to go by direct primaries. We need to try all the options. The direct primaries gives room to every member of the party to participate in the election of who governs them. Every card-carrying member of the party is allowed to participate, to vote, cast their votes, and say, look, this is our choice. Where somebody says they cannot be controlled, that is not correct. Every card-carrying member of the party is known. If your party had a total registration of 2,000, it is expected that at that primaries, I haven't done the direct primaries, 2,000 votes are expected. When you have 2001, it means that something is wrong with that primaries. So for anybody to say it cannot be controlled, if we can control general election conducted by INEC, where we have over 15, 20, 30 million Nigerians casting their votes, if that can be controlled, I wonder why a little less than 2 million, 3 million members cannot be controlled in a party where you employ direct primary. So for us in APC, we are very comfortable with all the three methods of conducting primaries. Consensus, which
has the APC been using more often? Because right now there's so much split in the APC. We're having challenges within the APC in Ekiti. There's been an ongoing tussle within the APC in Kwara. So really, which one has the APC used most importantly, especially when we're talking about direct primaries?
We have conveniently used both the direct and the indirect primaries in states. I can give you for free that the last primary election that were conducted in FCT were all conducted through the direct primaries. That is in 2019. All the House of Reps, Senate elections, local government elections were done by direct primaries. I can also tell you that in 2016, we used the indirect primaries. I can also tell you for free that most of our elections across so many states were done by direct primaries. It all depends on what the state feels that is most convenient, most comfortable, most acceptable by the members of the party. Because the primary election is about them. It is not about an individual, but it's about the voters. So what is most acceptable and comfortable and convenient for the members of the party at that particular state is employed so long as it is within the ambit of the constitution, the party's constitution.
If the House of Representatives decides that this will become part of the amended, the electoral act that is being passed as about to be passed as a bill, will the APC be comfortable with this particular one being the modus operandi going forward?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
We are already used to it.
Really? Because I asked a question that you glossed over. The APC seems to be having cracks within the party right now. And I pointed to Kwara State. I've spoken about Kwara APC over and over, that there's an ongoing squabble within the party. The most recent is in Ekiti State. So I'm trying to understand what type of internal democracy does the APC have in terms of states?
Now, let me say this clearly. Any political party that is ruling, any ruling political party, is prone to having more members moving into the party. And politics is all about interest. Where you have 2, 3, 4, 5 persons come together to vie for a particular position, interests abounds. And where you have interest, there are rooms for what you call cracks. I don't look at it as cracks. I look at it as normal political party struggles, where you decide to play the game by the rules, to decide to do whatever you can within the ambit of the law to win elections. So what is happening in Ekiti or is happening in Kwara, like you have said, as far as I'm concerned, is not a crack, but it is a sure way of people testing their potentials with regards to the voters, casting their votes and then deciding who governs them thereafter. So it is not a crack. It is normal. It's expected.
I would have agreed with you, Mr. Daji. I would have agreed with you because, if I were just to go by what you just told me, but I have had members of the opposing side from especially Kwara State on this show, and the most reoccurring thing is that there was no room for democracy. Someone was foisted overnight by the opposing party on the whole party, and this is the issue.
Do you also understand? Okay, I did told you that there are 3 methods of selecting. Hold on. That there are 3 methods of electing who represents the people in our party constitution. I did told you about consensus. I did told you about direct. I did told you about indirect. Where the leaders meet and decide. Look, when you say somebody said so, if we are 30 and 27 agrees that consensusly this is the man that we want to govern us, 3 is in the minority. So you won't say that what has been done there is illegal. It is within the party's constitution. It is within the legal framework of the party that consensus can be used where it can. Where it cannot, then you employ the other 2 methods, which is either direct or indirect. So what is happening in Kwara, like I have said, may have been born out of the fact that leaders of the party across board may have settled for consensus. But perhaps, maybe some very minute number of persons who did not have their way may possibly want to take to the media to say, look, what has been done.
And so the minute number of people are the ones that are holding the party to ransom right now. Is that what you're telling me? That the party is facing what they're facing now because of a handful of people?
Don't forget, in politics, where there are times you could have multitude of persons who, of course, have their say genuinely, and very few persons who could decide to take to violence may hold the place to ransom. That does not mean that that is in the majority. People taking people to ransom may have done that through violence. And it's not everybody in the party that will want to go by violence. So majority of the people may have done what is right, but few persons who may not have gotten it right may want to use violence. So holding them hostage or holding the people to ransom does not imply that the majority of the people are on that side. I want you to understand that.
Great. Let me go back to you, Mr. Diron. There are many grievances that the PDP Governors Forum hold against the APC. I'd like to make mention of one. Recently, the Governors Forum, even before this meeting, had come out to say that, the PDP Governors Forum had come out to say that the federal government is engaging in some form of arm twisting and threatening most of their governors to join the APC. And I'm really curious as to why this is happening, if it is really happening. Of course, I know that you have lost 2 governors, if not 3 so far, to the APC. Why do you think the governors have taken this position, saying that the government is hand-twisting them to one way or the other play to, the rhythm of the APC?
The arm twisting is very simple. Because APC is in power, because they are in government, they have a way of coercing whoever they want into their party. And part of it, or one special part of it, is the EFCC. And the argument we are saying is that if you believe some governors are corrupt, why is it that you lure them to join you with the threat of EFCC? You see them as a devil in PDP, but the moment they cross to your party, they become a saint, and you no longer talk about EFCC. There are many governors that have been contacted. It's not only the 3 of them that went. The other governors have been contacted, and they are only trying to safeguard the situation in the country. They don't want to mention it actually, and that's why they use that word. arm twisting. Arm twisting could be a way, could be anything to lure you or to coerce you into the other side. And what we are saying as a political party is that if you are really fighting corruption, do you now use that as an excuse to coerce them into your party? If you are looking for thieves and the thieves easily walk into your net, the next thing is just to arrest him and charge him to court, irrespective of whatever is happening. But as it is now, they are coercing, they are arm twisting. And what we are saying as a political party is that our motto is power belongs to the people. No individual is bigger than PDP. There has been instances when people left the party remained. And there has been instances when they came back to the party remained. So PDP will remain PDP. That means because some people left does not mean that there will not be PDP again. They are yet to do their Congress. And I can assure you, by the time they finish their Congress, you never can say how many governors are going to cross to PDP. Upon everything, I'm not saying this is good for our democracy. It is a bad system whereby people just wake up as APC today and tomorrow they are PDP.
But if the tables were turned, and you know, I've asked you this question before, what's the difference between the PDP and the APC? I mean, because when these people decide to cross over from the APC to the PDP, the doors are wide open for them to come right in. And the same thing is happening in the APC, and you're pointing fingers. What's the difference? The lines are blurred, if you ask me.
I have just said it. Neither PDP or APC is benefiting from this. It's affecting our democracy. It's affecting the growth of our democracy.
So why is the PDP not setting a trend? If you think that this is a problem to our democracy, as you have said, what are you doing about it to stop the trend of cross-capiting and crisscrossing?
What we are proposing is an electoral law that will bar you from crossing to a political party with whatever office you may hold. Once you have that clause, it will be very difficult for office holders to cross to another political party. And not until that is done, we will continue to see this cross-carpeting affecting our democracy. So for the mere fact that it is affecting PDP, that I'm condemning, does not mean that I'm applauding it if they come to PDP. Generally, it is a bad system that is affecting our democracy.
But if they come, will you take them?
Politics is a game of number. And no political party ever shuts its door against anybody. Political party is always open. People can go in, people can come out. But there must be principle.
All right. Well, quickly, Mr. Adaji, in closing, the PDP governors have made many claims. In fact, they have said that the APC is a party that has wrecked Nigeria's economy, the economy that the president promised to build when he came into power, the issue of unemployment that he promised to deal with. They also lambasted the APC and the presidency in terms of the insecurity that has been bedeviling the country. They talked about the fact that Nigerians have only witnessed nothing but misery and bad governance. What do you have to say about this?
Well, what I can say to you is for you to go back to history. Once upon a time, I don't like talking about this because 6 years down the line, I don't like to recall where we were before this particular government took over administration from the PDP. But it will interest you to know that the government was almost, in fact, has sunk completely, was sinking completely at the time the APC came into power. And Okojo-Iweala, the then of Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, who was, of course, the governor of CBN, Okojo-Iweala, who was the minister of finance, and host of others, and even Soludo, they had all to say about where we were.
I'm sure Nigerians remember where we were in 2015 before we voted in President Buhari. Yes, those were the problems of Nigeria, and that's why Nigerians voted the president in. What has the president done and the APC government to change that situation today? That's my question. My name is Mary Ann. I'll tell you for the last time. My name is Mary Ann. Please remember that.
If you allow me, my analysis will take me to where you want me to go. Now the point here is very clear. The economy was so bad, was in shambles when we came in. But as we speak today, you could remember that salaries were not paid. We were in recession when we took over. But today, the APC have taken Nigeria out of recession. As we speak today, salaries are being paid as at when due. Monies from the federal allocations are being sent to the various states. The issue of insecurity, has been an issue that has been there in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And this government has been doing everything possible to ensure that the issue of insecurity
Did your government promise that they were going to
let,
put an end to insecurity as soon as they got into office? Yes or no? Did the government promise that they were going to make all of our problems a thing of the past?
This present government, they are not magicians.
Did they promise?
Are not magicians.
I'm sorry, sir. Did they promise that they were going to put an end to our problems?
Yes, and that is exactly,
okay.
That is exactly what
and
they
has
been.
the government been able to do that? Well, it's almost 6 years down the line. Has the APC-led government been able to scratch the surface of that? Okay. Unfortunately, your connection is breaking. Usman Adaji is the All Progressive Congress party chairman for the FCT, and of course, Diro Odeyemi is the deputy spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you very much for speaking with us, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. Well, we have to go. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the situation by Rauf Aregbesola. He's calling for governors to sign the execution warrant of over 3,000 prison inmates. Why? To decongest the prisons. We'll be right back.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
A breakfast where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out of this pandemic?
No, definitely not.
Many Ghanaians just want a peaceful election and they are hoping there will be no rigging.
There is nothing bad in borrowing for infrastructure. The minister added that he was impressed.
Please come and see yourself what we are doing with the money we have borrowed.
It's very important. The way we brand ourselves is the way people will carry us.
It's just the driver of the two vehicles that were completely burned. This one was here screaming.
What do you recommend the government do to support this sector?
Direct intervention, that's what every government all over the world has done.
We are not a parallel security structure. A Amotepu core is a complementary core.
What I will not encourage Christians to do is to carry dagger and follow anybody. No.
Join us on The Breakfast, 7 a.m., Monday to Friday.
There has to be a decision point. The way your baby's presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You're going to cut her? Are you going to cut her? Is it going to leave a scar?" And I said, "Am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?"
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken. Of you? Yes, but without showing my private parts. I want to put it in my front room. And they said, "You can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house." I said, "Well, it's my body and it's my front room."
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting before I was 6.
So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
A non-governmental organization, Carmelite Prisoners Interest Organization, has raised concerns about the call to governors to sign execution warrants of 3,008 inmates who are on death row in the various custodial centers across Nigeria. Now, recently, the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, had urged state governors to sign the death warrants of inmates as a means of decongesting correctional facilities nationwide. The executive director of CAPIO, Reverend Father Jude Istiguzo, however, said that such a statement was unfair and a violation to the right of life. He stated that it would be miscarriage of justice to sign the death warrant while repentant insurgents and bandits who commit grievous crimes are ignored or even granted amnesty. Well, joining us to discuss this is Maxwell Okpara. He's a legal practitioner, and Segun Sopitan, who's a good governance and advocate, and he's of ACT Network. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Marianne. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm going to start with you, Segun, because you fall in the category of, civil society organizations and people who advocate for, justice and against the ultimate punishment. Now, I'm certain that constitutions across the world have been tweaked and retweaked to address the issue of the ultimate punishment. But in Africa and in Nigeria, we still have, that in our law books. But why do we still advocate for people on death row to face either a firing squad or be killed?
Pardon me. Yeah, this is an ideological conversation, Brian, and I can tell you that if you call, maybe 100 people or just do a sampling of 10 people, you probably will find a good number saying, yeah, I mean, if you do the crime, then, face the time. If the time happens to be death penalty, so be it. There are people out there who don't see anything wrong with the death penalty. And I would say they have a point to the degree that everybody has a right to hold their opinion. I personally, this is my personal view, believe that nobody is ultimately evil and nobody is irredeemable. And therefore, when you kill a person because the person has committed a crime, no matter how grievous or heinous, you deny them the opportunity for redemption. And I'm not talking of redemption from a religious point of view. You deny them the opportunity to make up for the crimes that they committed, given the right atmosphere, given the right grooming, and all of that.
How do you make up for a crime like killing a person? I mean, whether it's first degree or second degree manslaughter, or it's actually, outright murder. How do you make up? How is that redeemable?
That's why I say it's an ideological issue, So there are so many answers to that, So can I do so much good with my life that the crimes that I committed in the past can be made up for? The life that I took and denied the right to continue to live, can I make up for that by doing so much good? It's an ideological issue. So for me, honestly, Marianne, that wouldn't be the issue. I think, like you rightly said when you started, if you look across the world, in fact, if you look at the United States of America in particular, there are some states that still advocate and have the death penalty, capital punishment, the ultimate prize in their laws. And there are some states in that same country that don't, and it goes across the world like that. Some countries simply don't believe in the death penalty and some do. It's an ideological thing, and it's, for me, personally, it's neither here nor there, especially in this issue. What I find particularly disturbing is that the person advocating or urging governors to sign death warrants for people on the death row, the reason he's given for it is mind-boggling. It's unbelievable. The reason he's given is to decongest our prisons, kill people on death row. That makes no sense, because it makes absolutely zero sense. And I really hope that the minister would get the opportunity to see some of these arguments and some of these debates and understand that when we say it makes no sense, it's not an insult to his person. It's just that the argument actually makes no sense.
Okay. I'll come back to you. Just put a pin there. I'll come back to you. Let me go to Maxwell. Maxwell, you're a lawyer, so let's look at it from the legal perspective. Our law books do, of course, permit that if you have done the crime, just as Segun said, you have to do the time. Some people would advocate for a life imprisonment, and others would say, you know, kill him off because he killed someone or he deserves to be killed. And most people are afraid. In other countries, I do not know about Nigeria, if we do have the paroling system where some people who are supposed to do life after a couple of years or maybe 10 years, they're giving parole for good behavior. And sometimes families of those who lost loved ones to the evil act or the dastardly act seem like, you know, justice was not done. But from a legal perspective, paint us a picture. There are governors I know that have refused, for example, to sign, you know, these death warrants, making it very difficult for anybody to be put on death row or to be killed. Do you think that they're doing this deliberately because they are maybe not speaking out, but silently in support of, or against, rather, the death penalty?
Well, just like as you rightly pointed out, I'm talking from a legal point of view, and we should also remove morality in the statement made by the Honorable Minister of Interior, Honorable Sola. That is the law. Remember that the law said if you intentionally taking away somebody's life, that person's life will also be taken in line with the law. In line with the law. Now, court has said that this particular person committed this crime. The person now appealed to it to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has given the final, or said the person should die by hanging. Now, was there a remedy? Yes. What is the remedy? Amnesty. By who? Either the governor or the president. Now, if the governor felt that, anyway, this person can be of good behavior, I'm ready to give him, pardon. So be it. He can go ahead and do that. Nobody is against it. If you are not going to give the person pardon, why are you keeping the person? Why are you keeping the person for how many years?
So is it illegal for governors to withhold their signatures to these death penalties? Is it a crime? Does the Constitution criminalize it?
The law did not state the time limit within which the governor should sign the execution warrant. So, but the point the Honorable Minister is making is that you are not giving them presidential pardon, and you are not. Why are you keeping them there? That is a very simple thing. So now, on the issue of removing death penalty, I don't subscribe to that idea. Somebody you saw a 12-year-old child who is hawking. You rape the girl. After raping the girl, you use your hole, your farm hole, kill the girl and bury the girl. And at the end of the day, when you are convicted, somebody said, presidential pardon. Whom are you pardoning? You enter into somebody's house. You looted everything, you raped the wife, used broken bottle, and slot into the private part of the woman, and the woman bleeded and died. And they convicted the person. You are talking about presidential pardon. Pardoning for what?
Are all the people on death row really responsible? And you might not have the answer, because there are people who have accidental discharge, you know, mistakenly shoot stray bullets.
Those.
Go ahead.
Those ones can be understandable. It's discretional. If somebody, a police officer, out of a mistake, you shot a gun and the bullet now, strange bullet and what have you, those ones are understandable. We are talking about intentional acts. Now you can see what is going on. A kidnapper. You made a particular family, they sold all they have, pay you after collecting the money. You still kill the medical doctor. So when the people are bringing morality into this thing, the justice is a two-way thing. Are you considering those families that you take away their breadwinner? Is anybody considering them? Let us remove morality in all these things. If you intentionally, the law said, if you intentionally take away somebody's life, that person's life will be taken. It's a very simple thing.
Since we're talking, since we're talking legal and we're also talking morality, let's look at the statement of the Minister, Rauf Aregbesola, talking about the fact that he wants to decongest the prisons. Should we be talking about decongesting the prisons in the same breath with killing people off? Of course, those people are on death row, yes, but is it not the responsibility of the government to see to it that our prisons are good enough, are enough to house these prisoners? Because we're sending them to prison, we have to make accommodations for them. Have you visited a prison lately? What is the condition of the prisons? Should that be the problem of governors as it should be the problem of the federal government?
Yes. Now, the point is the minister is trying to face the facts as it is. He's the minister for Interior, and the correctional center is under him. They are looking for a way to make it better. They are looking for a way to decongest the prison. This person has been convicted. He has been there for the past 30 years in the death row. Don't you know that they're punishing the person? You are even punishing the person.
How about, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's just the death row inmates that are congesting the prisons. I have done several reports, on prisons, and I have seen several, I'm not saying a handful, several prisoners who were just picked up by police officers and something that was, pinned on them, and they still haven't gotten their day in court, and they've been left there for months, some for years. Shouldn't the minister be looking at those issues in dealing with those people that have not had their day in court instead of dealing with the few people who are on death row?
It's encompassing. You cannot separate one. It's encompassing.
I'm looking at the percentage of these people who are in those facilities as compared to the guys who are on death row.
Even if they are one, even if they are two, even if they are three.
Exactly. What change would three people? What change will three people on death row do in changing the phase or giving room in the prison system? Three, as compared to how many people who are there?
Do you know that Do you know that my federal government is feeding them? Those people on the death row. Do you know that federal government is feeding them? Now, what we are talking about is that it's encompassing. As you are talking about how to reduce the number of awaiting trial. We also talk about
what should we prioritize more? Innocent people or people who have already been convicted? What should be our priority?
All of the above. All of the above.
Okay, let me go back to Segun. Segun, I'm going to ask the same question I asked him. What should we be prioritizing? And really, whether it's an issue of morality or common sense, Segun, what should we be prioritizing? We have more people who are innocent, who have not had their day in court, who have just been abandoned in these prisons, and we're having more and more of them. We see and hear these testimonies every day of people who didn't do anything. They were going about their businesses and they end up in prison and still haven't had their day in court. The number of those people who are seemingly, what's the word? They're not guilty until proven differently. And the number of guys who are on death row, what should the government be prioritizing, since we're talking decongesting the prisons?
Yeah. This, like I said, I mean, look, I understand the point that.
Oh, Segun, I think that we're having problems with your connection. Let's try again. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying, if you look at the statistics, right, you have 68,000 inmates in Nigeria. Out of that 68,000, Marianne, it's only 3,000 that are on death row. 3,000. So that's less than 5%. It's about 3% or something like that are on death row. By comparison, you have 51,000 out of 68, Marianne, are awaiting trial. Now, if I wanted to decongest the prisons, really, what should I do? So what the minister has basically done is he has looked at the easiest, the path of least resistance to solve a real problem. Unfortunately, that path of least resistance he's going to tread upon human lives. He's going to be killing people off who perhaps might actually not be guilty. We have to understand.
Really, is he
that's
really,
another point, right?
We have to go, but really, is he killing people because these people already are on death row? They are, of course, that's their fate, really. It's just that it's taking longer than it should.
Marianne, I know. What I'm basically saying is that if you wanted to decongest the prisons, why don't you start from people that haven't even had their day in court? And they are the predominant majority of the people in prisons. They represent over 70% of the prison population are awaiting trial. Why do you want to look at the 3% that are on death row and kill them, end their lives? Yes, they've been convicted. Yes, they are waiting to be killed. But you have others that you can still deal with to solve your problem. What about the issue of presidential pardon? What about the ones that have been on death row for 20 years and are now better, and there's evidence that they're better? Why don't you think of releasing them? I don't know, so there's an ideological side to this, but there's also a political side that,
Well, I wish we had time to go on this conversation, but unfortunately we have to go. I can hear the guy saying we have to go. Thank you very much. Maxwell Okpara is a legal practitioner and Shegu Shopita is of ACT Network. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of this conversation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us on this conversation. We'll be back tomorrow with more on Plus Politics. I am Mary Anna Cohn. Have a good evening.